Always trying to up the numbers, yeah, just so we can shine this summer, yeah. What's the price? I don't know the price. We just trying to live life in paradise. Lifestyle, 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 lifestyle. Oh, lifestyle, 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 lifestyle. What's the price? We don't know the price. We just trying to live life in paradise.
Back in the regular routine, so expect shows from me Monday, Wednesday, and Friday this week. If you happen to be tuning in for the first time, this is Black Money Market News. What is the Black Money Market News? It is the source for the streets to get the news from Wall Street.
Yeah, always trying to up the numbers, yeah, just so we can shine this summer, yeah. What's the price? I don't know the price. We just trying to live life in paradise. Lifestyle, 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 lifestyle. Oh, lifestyle, 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 lifestyle. What's the price? We don't know the price. We just trying to live life in paradise.
Shall my DD away free Bitcoin once a week. And to enter, all you have to do is like the Black Money Market News page, like, love, react, laugh to one of the shows this week, share one of this week's shows, and comment on one of this week's shows. And next week I'll announce the one from this week. Shout out to Richard. I see you've already tuned in. Appreciate you, my man. You've been a great support. And everyone else that's been with me on this journey. We passed 400 likes on the Black Money Market News page in the last couple of days. So appreciate everyone that's been rocking with me since day one.
Yeah, always trying to up the numbers, yeah, just so we can shine this summer, yeah. What's the price? I don't know the price. We just trying to live life in paradise.
People to be able to join. So go ahead and get your share on now, so you can get the word out to your family, your friends, your loved ones, so they can get some of the same game. Shout out to Michael White, already tuned in. Tonight's show, I'm going to be touching on some of the ruckus that's been happening in Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space today. There was a lot of downward movement, and I had people inbox me, hey, what's going on? I lost this. I can't believe what's going on, what's happening. So I hopefully can bring some more insight to that for you.
Always trying to up the numbers, yeah, just so we can shine this summer, yeah. What's the price? I don't know the price. We just trying to live life.
I'm waiting just a few more moments to get a couple more people on the live stream tonight. I'm also going to be taking the calls live. So if you have any questions, I'll have the number up on the screen later to you to call in, and let's see if we can answer some of your financial investment questions this evening. Shout out Miss Wilson. I see you, Kristen. Thanks for tuning in. But I'm going to give it just about another 30 seconds. We're going to get tonight's show kicked off and get it kicked off right. And we're live. Hello, once again, my name is Samuel Hill. I am your host of the black money market news. Um, as usual, we're gonna start off tonight's show with a little bit of an update of what's been going on the indexes. So we're gonna start off with the Dow Jones Industrial Average. It was down just slightly down $12 to end the day at 25,283. S&P 500 was slightly up to end the day at 2,747. NASDAQ was the biggest gainer on the market, up $20, up 0.29% on the day, and the Russell 2000 was up nearly $2. So not a lot of movement, but there was some big moves in individual stocks, and we'll touch on a couple of those later on in the show. Big mover today was Bitcoin. It rallied back from some of the earlier lows seen in the day. It's only down roughly 5% right now. Was low as 10%, if not even more, looking at the charts from earlier today. Gold was down slightly, and the euro to US dollar exchange is down slightly as well. So starting off in the crypto spaces, that's what's been people been blowing me up about. There was two big things that happened in the cryptocurrency world that kind of sent the boats a rocking. First, there was an announcement by regulators in South Korea, pretty much announcing that they're going to start, investigating some of the big banks and how people are investing and speculating in Bitcoin, with South Korea being the highest volume, biggest market right now, really in the cryptocurrency space. That was the first punch in the gut for the day, and started pushing the price movement down. And then the big news was the major page, CoinMarketCap, which is a page I use quite a bit, decided to remove 3 of South Korea's cryptocurrency exchanges from its averages. So when people went to look at that site, they saw the new correlation, that new data without those 3 exchanges on there. And with that change in the data, even though the market itself didn't change that much, the charts in themselves looked like there was a lot of change. So I'm going to try to pull up the website now so you guys can take a look and see what that correction did today. All right, so this morning they announced here that they weren't going to have those 3 South Korean exchanges included in their data. What CoinMarketCap does is they look at pretty much all of the major cryptocurrency exchanges around the world and correlates those data into pretty much a global average of the price. And these 3 major exchanges in South Korea have always been kind of outliers. They've been always a little bit higher than most of the other exchanges. Sometimes some of those price differences have been several $1,000s higher. So there was at times, you got Bitcoin on Coinbase or GDAX for $14,000, $15,000, and on that South Korean exchange, it was $19,000, $20,000. So they felt like, now was a good time to kind of remove those outliers that were kind of pulling the overall pricing that they were reflecting up. But with only those 3 exchanges having those inflated prices, it wasn't really a true reflection of the global price. So when you take a exchange that is weighted higher, or that is that the price is higher, it kind of brought the price down. So as you can see here on the chart, it kind of helped push the market down when they did that. So you got the first punch to the gut with the South Korean regulators stepping in and saying that they're going to be working, with the major banks there in South Korea to trying to come up with some ways to kind of crack down on some of the rampant speculation in the cryptocurrency space. And then you had, Coin Market Cap with their move by removing three of the South Korean exchanges. It was kind of the 1-2 left right combo that sent the markets down today. And that pricing kind of wasn't just on Bitcoin, but it kind of rippled through, wink, wink, across several other, pretty much most of the other major currencies. But just to take a look back real quick, looking at the market capitalization total right now, we have $752 billion. Right now, currently, is a total market capitalization for all of the major cryptocurrencies. Uh, Last week, Ripple surged huge and was the number two. After the moves today, it's down nearly 25% and allowed Ethereum to come back and take the number two position that it had long held long term. And so it's back in the number two position. So I'm going ahead and pull up some charts. If you're familiar with TradingView, this is what I use to do my charting, my technical analysis. So let's take a look. This is Bitcoin 2-hour candlestick chart, looking at roughly the last 2 weeks right now. As you can see here, you have this big down break in the price movements today. Good thing is that when it bottomed out, it did hit support levels and maintained those support levels. We did have a little bit of a spike down to 14,000, at least on the Coinbase exchange, but it was short term, rallied back quickly to those support levels. And looking at the MACD here, we are beginning to form a bullish crossover. So I would say now is a good time to buy in the crypto and Bitcoin. We're getting a good buy signal right now with Bitcoin, with the a possible MACD formation, crossover formation forming now. You have Bitcoin pulling back to major support levels and maintaining those support levels. Let's take a look a little bit longer term. We'll take this to a 1-day chart real quick on Bitcoin. Again, you can see the movements that we had today. Looking back yesterday, we had gone from 17,000 down to, like I said, roughly 14,000. So a good, roughly 20% move there, but it did maintain some major support levels. Looking at the MACD here, it looks like we did have a bullish crossover, and then we may have a possible bearish crossover trying to form on the 1-day chart, but I definitely feel like we will be back into positive momentum soon. Let's take a look at some shorter term, going down to a 5-minute candle. We have a great series, a step ladder series here, with a series of higher lows and higher highs forming out in Bitcoin. So can definitely say, now might be a good time to buy if you are looking to add to your current position or start a new position in Bitcoin. Let's take a look at some of the other major moves. Let's go ahead and take a look at Ripple. So I'm going to pull that up real quick. This is the Ripple dollar pricing from Bitstamp. Let me move this from this 5-minute chart. Let me start back at a 2-hour chart. All right, so in fact, I'm gonna take this to a 4-hour chart since I was gone the last few days, past week. I believe I did talk on Ripple on last Monday, And last Monday, uh, I mean, Ripple was, it had kind of fell back down to $1.70. And then over the last week, it surged over 320 before pulling back hard today, down again roughly 25% in the last 24 hours. We'll say some good things on the chart during today's movements. It did hit a key support level and bounce back relatively quickly. Looked like it was just a short-term spike on pretty hefty volume. Probably was a single large order, probably a large person that had a large position that made a killing over the last couple of weeks. A 20% correction is definitely to be expected, especially when you look at the fact that the price of Ripple is up over 1,000% at the highs in a month. So if you're up over 1,000% in a month, a 20% correction really isn't nothing, but it is a good thing to have. That's a good and healthy pullback, and healthy pullbacks are always a good thing in a long-term bull rally. You got to have those corrections to kind of allow to shake out some of those weaker hands and allow people to kind of buy in at better pricing when those evaluations kind of get extended. Um, So, my personal opinion, looking at the current formations here, we still are in this bearish crossover. We are getting the MACD back down to zero levels. I would not be surprised if we retest this. Let's take a look at the daily chart and see what. Like, I would not be surprised if we retest this roughly 20-day moving average again, which is sitting at about $1.80 over the next couple of days. Just looking at the fact that we do have now the bearish crossover on the daily MACD, and going back to a 4-hour chart, we still have this bearish pull down in the MACD there. Would not be surprised if we get back below 220, and again, I would not even be surprised if we pull back below $2 in Ripple before we begin the rally back up. I will say that we are at a previous resistance level of 240 during the previous breakout move here. So if it can maintain this 240 level, you could also see the rally return. Look for a breakout above 280 to really signal that the rally has returned to the upside. Personal opinions when it comes to the pricing of Ripple, because Ripple is designed more as a tool for the major financial banks and markets to allow them to kind of settle their funds. I don't see the per coin price of Ripple getting to the pricing that you see in Bitcoin. I don't think you'll ever see Ripple in the $10,000, $15,000 per coin pricing. I think by design, maybe 100, maybe a couple of hundred per coin, but definitely isn't going to be one of those multi $1,000 per coin price just because of how it's designed. But again, those are my personal opinions. You may feel differently. Let's take a look at Ethereum. So I can get that pulled up. The number 2 guy. Looking at this 4-hour chart, we are up roughly almost 4.5% on the day. We do have a possible, slightly bearish crossover on the MACD. Over the last couple of days, you had this big move and finally crossed the $1,000 level and held the $1,000 level, kind of spiked down which is normal, especially when you see a large spike up, especially outside of this Bollinger Band. Going some technical analysis here, you see this large spike to the upside, and then you definitely would expect a pullback, a return to the mean, as you would say. So since it did have that move down, would not be surprised if the rally, which has kind of returned today with this 5% gain, continues on. Last cryptocurrency I want to take a look at is going to be Litecoin. Let's see. Here we go, Litecoin, Coinbase Exchange. Um, It's also been kind of on the downward side today, especially with some of the news that's came out over the last 24 to 48 hours with the announcement of the changes in South Korea. So was a little bit down, roughly flat today, only up 0.31%. It has pulled back to the lower end of its previous trading range, so could definitely see it bounce back up, and would not be surprised if we see a retest of the $300 levels here soon. So now I think looking at its current setup would be a good time to maybe begin a position with the MACD being in this bearish crossover. It's getting back down to zero, and with the current pricing at the lower end of the trading range, again, definitely look for a breakout above 300 to signal a return to the previous rallies in Litecoin. We're going to switch gears, move on over to some of the major indexes in the stock market. Let's take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the only real major index to be on the negative side today. Only down, $12, almost $13. So it wasn't a crazy movement, but definitely a good check down. Looking at the the movements that we had over the end of last week, we had some pretty much ending on 3 or 4 good positive days last week. So with those days, kind of pulling the price range to the top side of the Bollinger Band, having this slightly flat day is to be expected, but definitely some good price movement there. This has been one of the better starts to a new year. I think last week was the best first week of a new year since I want to say I think I heard like 2009. So definitely was a good week last week in the stock market. So to have a relatively flat day today definitely is to be expected and nothing to be too concerned about. I would say that we'll be getting back into earnings season pretty soon, and as long as earnings reports are businesses are showing healthy profits and their profit margins are increasing and their earnings are increasing, we will definitely continue to see the rally, especially with the changes coming through with the tax reform that was passed, last month. Let's take a look at the S&P 500. I'm going ahead and just pull up the SPY ETF. Just my personal opinion, you can definitely I'm expecting I would be looking for a pullback in the S&P 500 just because of how far we're out of the this Bollinger Band range. Last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 days have been up, which is a good rally, good long-term rally. But 5 days up in a row, would not be surprised if you may see tomorrow or the day after that make it a little bit more on the negative side of the pricing action. But some good moves in the S&P 500. Taking a look at some individual stocks, one of the big movers today was NVIDIA. CES has started, the big consumer electronics show out in Vegas, and they made some major announcements. NVIDIA announced that they've partnered up with, I want to say it was VW, as well as another major car manufacturer, to use NVIDIA's chips for smart, self-driving car technology. They're also developing their own, sensors as well, to kind of get more of a complete package besides just their chipsets. There also was some announcements regarding some new devices rocking some NVIDIA chips at CES. So with CES going on over the next few days, you will definitely see some movements in the technology space as new devices get announced, as new chipsets get announced, as new standards and protocols, new pretty much a little bit of new everything comes out. You may start seeing some more shifts in pricing. Another big announcement NVIDIA came out with was a new uh, gaming displays. That's to support their G-Sync technology with 120 hertz refresh rates, 4K HDR, and 65-inch and larger displays. So no pricing or release times were announced with that announcement yet, but that's another money add that their chipset and their uh, proprietary technology will be making the way into displays from the likes of uh, Acer, Asus, and HP have already announced their partnerships for it, as well as having the NVIDIA Shield gaming systems kind of integrated into those displays as well. So with those announcements, Nvidia was up roughly $6 or 3%, breaking out to new all-time highs. If you've been following Nvidia since, I'm gonna take this back to roughly this time last year, it was at 100, and so it's doubled in the last 12 months. We have a great kind of cup formation forming here. We have a great bullish crossover on the MACD, and it's ripping up to the plus side, kind of getting back to the levels it saw um, prior to this pullback at the end of the year. You saw this selling action at the end of the year, mainly due to the large movement and increase in the price action. So when you have a stock that kind of doubles in a year, people are going to have to pay some taxes. So why not trim a little off the top to pay your taxes and lock in those gains? So with that kind of shakedown, it did hit the 90-day moving average, held nicely, and has rallied hard after that. And in the last 5 trading days, it's gone from roughly 190 to 222. So roughly a $30 move in 5 days. So that's you're looking at over almost a 15% gain, really, in next less than a week of worth of trading. So would not be surprised if you may see a correction back down to 215 or so, which was the previous, maybe 218, which was the previous all-time high. But today was definitely a good pop day for NVIDIA. Let's take a look at Alphabet, aka Google. It also reached all-time highs today, crossing 119 before pulling back down to end the day at 114. Again, good positive indication on the MACD. It also has some, excuse me, selling pressure towards the end of the year as investors were locking in some of the gains they have, uh, you know, locked, some of the gains they earned in 2017. And as the new year kind of started, it's kind of rallied back from those last few days of last year. It sold, and now it's back into rally, back into this trend. So um, to me, you'll definitely see it probably taking out the 120 level, but would not be surprised if we see a check back to maybe even the maybe the 1100 level, just due to how quick it's been appreciating over the last few days. But good movement in Google. Let's take a look at something at besides technology. Let's take a look at Walmart. Taking a look at the retail space. Um, there was some good movement in Walmart over the last few days as well. It has also broke out to new all-time highs. And the market has just been rallying, rallying, rallying. I'm gonna just take this chart out for a while. So as you can see, Walmart over the last let me take this to last year. This is last 2 years. So this is 2015 is when it kind of had this big spike down, and since then has kind of rallied back hard. And in the last 6 months or so, it's really just accelerated that price appreciation. And today it hit, new all-time highs. Um, Looking at the movement and this new all-time high, would not be to be surprised. We see a little bit pullback back towards the $100 level, which had been resistance, but now that it's pushed through the $100 level today and took out the 101 level, I got a price target of about 110 on it myself. I do own a couple of 110 calls that expired in March, so that's where my biases are, just for disclosure purposes. So Walmart's definitely been a good rally in the last 3 or 4 days, the first few trading days of the year. Taking a look at Wynn Resorts, the big gaming, casino and gambling global conglomerate. It kind of again had that end of the year swoon, and that kind of carried over into the first of the year. And today it was down a little over percent. Um, I would say it may be time for it to pull back into its rally, and maybe make a march towards this 52-week high of 171, after the correction has gone through over the last week and a half, and Wynn. Let's take a look at the VIX, the volatility index. The VIX right now was up 3% today at 950, and as you can see, it's been kind of trading between 9 and 11 over the last several weeks. So it's kind of at 9.5, so maybe about 25% above the lows of that range. So would not be surprised if we can see back down towards the $9 level, or it may even continue back into this uptrend. And since we do definitely have this bearish crossover, would not be surprised if we go back down to the 9 level. But you can also again see maybe testing of that $11 levels as well. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a few minutes to maybe give me a call. Got the phone number up on the screen. If you do have any questions, now will be a great time to go ahead and call in. That's 405 633 3323. If you got any questions, I'm going to give you guys about 2 or 3 minutes if you want to call in right now with any of your investment, stock, cryptocurrency questions. All right, guys. Well, since I'm not getting any calls, I don't receive any people on the live stream right now, I'm going ahead and wrap up tonight's show. I will be back on Wednesday night here at 8:30 Central with the next episode of Black Money Market News. I appreciate you guys watching tonight. We'll be having some guests again next week with some answers for you in the financial and investing insights. I wish you guys have a great night. Thanks for watching, and this has been tonight's episode of the Black Money Market News.